where in the hell am I? Um, and this is actually where I live. You've never seen this location because I hate it. Whenever you do watch one of my videos, you are actually seeing my mother's house. You might actually know that because I have referenced to that before. But the reason why I do that over there is it has a much better setup. I like how the background looks, whereas this background is just so generic, even though there's a sword hanging in the background for no reason. It's really awkward just to look up into the camera because I cannot place it anywhere else, so it just feels really weird and uncomfortable. Furthermore, my old computer that I had in this location could not sustain video editing software, whereas my mother's could, so it was just much more convenient to do everything over there. The only reason you're seeing this location right now is because it is hell over at her house as she's getting ready for Christmas, and I don't want to get in the way with this stupid video, so I figured, why not set everything up since I have a new computer, and just go ahead and try a single video in this location. My room is actually a complete mess. I had to throw everything on the bed because I'm about to shampoo the carpet, so if you're wondering if I'm a total slob, I am, but this time I have an excuse for it. Okay, so moving on to the movie in question, Jack Reacher. It is a live-action adaptation of a novel called One Shot, which is part of the Jack Reacher book series. Now, I have not read One Shot, but I did read one of the entries. I believe it's called Nowhere to Run. I could be wrong about that, though. The plot was Jack Reacher wanders into some town. All of the residents are very hostile towards him, and it turns out there's this big conspiracy. It had a very Western type setup, and it was actually a really well written and interesting book. The thing with the Jack Reacher movie that intrigued me was, when I think of Jack Reacher, I think of the opposite of Tom Cruise. Now, I like Tom Cruise. I respect him for his choice of films, even when a movie backfires, like Night and Day and Rock of Ages. I could see what drew him to the project beyond financial gain. And furthermore, I do appreciate how he seems to prefer doing more commercial stuff instead of, certain actors where they like to do the real boring art house shit. There are good art house movies, don't get me wrong, but I do respect that Tom Cruise at least finds a balance where he wants to make good commercial movies. But the thing with Jack Reacher that made him so intriguing was he was described as being pretty big. I think he was like 7 feet tall, very tough looking, and when you think about it, he actually resembles a villain more than he does a hero, but he is the good guy. Tom Cruise is like 5 feet tall, so he's really short. He's a pretty boy, and while he's a badass, he's not very threatening looking. This is definitely one of the problems with the movie, is Tom Cruise is just not Jack Reacher. Whenever he wants to be menacing, it's not very convincing. At the same time, though, I do think Tom Cruise did good in that, Tom is a master at engaging the audience. Whenever he wants a scene to be lighthearted and funny, he makes it happen, and he does it very well. When he wants a scene to be more intense and, maybe dramatic, he also can pull that off, and he does so effortlessly to where, you get the full experience in his movies. So he does good in that regard, but he's just not Jack Reacher. And I think the writing and actually it's just the writing sometimes worked against him because the more interesting elements of Jack Reacher are glanced over. For example, he's really a hobo. His backstory is that he was he was part of the military police, and he was very brilliant at his job, but he pretty much spent his whole life doing it, and he decided to retire and then just wander through the country that he spent his whole life fighting for, and just seeing the lives of everyday people and stuff like that. Well, he has no house. He has a savings account that he uses quite frequently, and he has a fair amount of money stored up, but he doesn't keep more than one pair of clothes. So whenever he'll wear a pair for like a week or so, and then just throw them away and buy some new clothes. And that is mentioned here, but it just, I guess, it glanced over. And then the reason why he does all this, which is pretty much what I said, it was explained in a much more captivating way in the book than it is in the movie, where it just sort of tacked on and maybe a little bit manipulative. but beyond that, it is a good movie. It's much more of a thriller than it is action, whereas the trailers kind of made it out to be the opposite. There are definitely some car chases and gunfights and hand-to-hand combat scenes, and they are very well done. One thing I do like about Tom Cruise also is it seems like in his action movies, the spectacle is never clean. Like, I remember Mission Impossible 4. One of my favorite parts is when he's on the building and he has to get through the window, but he messes up and he ends up smacking his face against the ledge. Now, it's not realistic because that probably would have broken his nose or at least knocked him out, but it was still a good flinching scene. And this, it's not quite as epic as that, but there are a lot of scenes where the action isn't going down as smoothly as he would like. Like when he's fighting a group of guys, he's describing exactly what's going to happen, and it kind of goes down that way, but not completely as planned. And when he's in a car chase, a few times the car gets banged up to where it's not even starting, and that really heightens the tension and makes it more exciting. But really, it is much more about suspense. It's not political intrigue because there's no politics involved, but it's the same kind of idea where, as he's uncovering what exactly is going on, the music is kind of chilling and creepy, and it's much more interesting when it's doing that because the dialogue is very well written, and the story develops in an incredibly interesting way. Now, it's not perfect still because I do feel they glanced over, once again I have to use that word, glanced, over some of the more interesting elements of the story, like why everything went down, what exactly the villains are doing, and there's like some traits with the other characters that are brought up, but they aren't explored enough. Like a character who turns out to be a traitor says something very briefly about why he or she is doing this, but I felt like there needed to be more there. You can't just drop a line like that and then not explain it more thoroughly. And then some character relationships, they also just didn't quite click. For example, the main girl, played by Rosamund Pike, she's not very likable because she's kind of bitchy towards her father, and you never understand why. And her dad is played by Richard Jenkins, and as much as I do like Rosamund Pike, Richard Jenkins is significantly cooler than she is, even though he's significantly less hot. But whenever she lashes out at him or anybody else, you never understand why, so it just makes her seem like kind of a bitch. I think the worst aspect is the ending. The ending in itself isn't bad, but it is very generic action movie and how it concludes. And according to my dad, who did read the book, he's a much bigger Jack Reacher fan, it was totally different, and I wonder if they reshot it for some reason, whether it was time restraints or whatever. But the villains throughout the most of the movie, they are surprisingly effective. The things that you remember about them are very disturbing, and they seem very intelligent, and you could see them taking on a guy as resourceful as Jack Reacher. But in the finale, it just, I don't know, there's no intelligence about it, on their part anyway. It's just a typical gunfight and some hand-to-hand fighting, and it just kind of felt like a step down. You were expecting something epic with these guys, but you just never get that. But I do want to make a point that this is a good movie. It does have intelligence, it has excitement, the action is really good, the acting is really good, even though, as I said, Tom Cruise just doesn't quite fit the role of Jack Reacher. But it's just not perfect. Would I recommend you seeing it? Yes. It does provide the whole cinematic experience in that there are sad moments, happy moments, funny moments, intense moments, maybe even some scary moments. But it is always entertaining, and I did really enjoy it. This is the type of action movie I want to see more of, not just like Red Dawn shit. This is more in line with Skyfall in that when it's good, it is really good, but its flaws keep it from achieving total greatness. So I think you should watch it as a matinee for sure. I don't want this movie to bomb because I would be interested in seeing some more Jack Reacher movies, but it looks like based on its opening night that it's going to underperform, or at least it won't be a major success. Hopefully I'm wrong. I did not do a written review. I just didn't have a whole lot to say, and even what I did now was very difficult because I always feel an incomplete review is when shit, my computer just went in sleep mode. when I spend the bulk of the video complaining about the minor stuff, when I actually do have an appreciation of the movie as a whole. So I figured it would make a better vlog than it would a written review. I did do a written review of a movie called Jade Warrior, though, so if you want to read that, please go to my website and check it out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I plan on doing some stuff this week, but there will definitely be a Critiquing the Critics episode next week. I mean, the week after Christmas, that is. I've already got most of the script done, so we'll just have to see. I'll see you guys later.